UFC Saudi Arabia marked a historic defeat in the career of Israel Adesanya as he's now lost 3 consecutive times in combat sports for the very first time in his long, storied run in kickboxing, mixed martial arts, and everything else. He succumbs to a second-round knockout at the hands of Nasruddin Imavov, who caught him with a big shot early in the second frame after Adesanya looked strong and won the first round. In my opinion, this was a difficult one for him. He did not love the stoppage here. Probably could have gone on a few ticks longer. I don't think it would have changed the outcome. Imavov was pouring it on and would have likely continued to do so. But for Adesanya, the first time he has ever been beaten in a non-title bout in mixed martial arts, and that feels like a big deal and perhaps a significant moment on the downturn potentially for him at this point. Of course, the losing skid isn't maybe as bad as it seems for some. The previous 2 coming into this were to the former champion Sean Strickland and the current champion Dricus du Plessis, who are rematching for the title next weekend at UFC 312, and then a very determined Imavov here who is very much rising up the middleweight division and potentially could be a future champion himself. So the losing skid, if you take a closer look, doesn't look quite as bad, but Adesanya saying prior to this fight he could lose 10 straight times and it would not affect what he has done in mixed martial arts and his contributions to this sport. I agree to that. To some extent, but I do think you look at guys like BJ Penn, Tony Ferguson, as it gets into the 6-7 range, then things start to get really bad. But Adesanya still a far cry from that, but questions to be asked about what his future looks like at this stage. Turns 36 years old this summer. He has said in his reaction since the fight that he will be back, seemingly is not ready to retire just yet, but at what position does this leave him? I do think there's still big fights out there for him. You could do a rematch with Sean Strickland if he falls short of the title. Khamzat Chimaev is out there if he either wins the belt or doesn't win the belt, kind of depending on where things go. But Adesanya definitely has some rebuilding to do, and if you look down the middleweight ranks, there is a lot of guys that would certainly like to come for his head. Guys like Caio Baralho, guys like Anthony Hernandez, a lot of new up-and-comers there trying to charge their way into the weight class, and you just wonder, with all the money Adesanya has made, all the miles on his body, how many of more of these type of matchups like he had with Imavov is he keen to keep doing? There could be fights that he wants, but at this stage you just wonder exactly what he is pushing for here, because this did feel like a potentially definitive end to his championship aspirations or his relevance as a true title contender. So we will see what decisions Adesanya comes to after he reflects and looks at this. I think a big story to kind of watch in 2025 will be what he ends up doing, but his early signs are that he wants to come back, and it's just a question of what type of matchup will the UFC deem most appropriate for him at this stage of his career.